Ham-handed.
Go on.
No, I just wanted to say ham-handed because Obama said it a couple days ago about Trump.
Very much so.
Foul mouth. Fuck you, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now rocking with the worst. This is the worst case scenario, and that means that I am your host, Falio Iglesias, MC Onion, the rap scallion, Val Kilmer, the Carlotte heartthrob, Dirt Reynolds, the Archduke Depeche Mode von Luftballoons, known to the ladies as a pimp named Sugar Cookie, and with me as always, the man I cannot do without, Adam Strange, Tooth Willis, Forrest Gums, Infidel Castro, the Vice Count Dirty Finger.
Yo.
Reggie Nibbles is with us, and I'm going to take a big swing today. I'm going to eat one of these, well, half of one of these weed gummies.
No.
And I don't think I've smoked
Let me eat one.
on the air. You want a whole one?
Yeah.
What color you want?
I know.
What color you want?
I don't care. Blue.
All right, get blue stars. I think they're doing them like Lucky Charms, like blue storm.
Actually, I don't know. Stars. I'm gonna go with one of these yellow ones instead.
Green clovers.
Squares seem more. I don't even know.
Square. All right. You gonna eat a whole one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Watch
but
it.
you're a monster pothead.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It would be
so-
hilarious if we both fell asleep like halfway through the podcast, and then it
it-
just recorded for another like 2 hours of snoring.
It'd be a nice change of pace because I fell asleep on this show before.
Yeah, that's why I said it'd be funny if we both did.
But you're a pothead. I'm not. So I'm eating the whole thing. Fuck it. If you're going in, I'm going in.
Yeah.
All right. Let's find what happens.
Now,
They're already rocking with the worst. So.
weed gummy ASMR.
Yeah. This is voiceover. We should charge you for this. Nom, 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 nom.
Yeah, Obama made a. He doesn't really, like he has a respect for the office of the presidency by shutting his fucking mouth until the guy gets out of office and then dissing him.
Yeah.
But so
It tastes good.
when what's going on with Harvard right now? Trump's basically been going to every college and being like, you guys are teaching too many facts. We're going to need a diverse viewpoint. So you got to teach lies that get more people to like us. Racist stuff. You got some more racist stuff for me? But
We will deport.
so Harvard has the money to be like, go fuck yourself. We got like $50 billion. You can kiss our ass with your fucking pittance of a couple million.
Yeah, their alumni contributions alone have to be fucking crazy.
Their endowment, what the money they have in the bank is.
You're saying they're well endowed.
Yes, they have $50 billion fucking dollars. They're like fucking with Elon kind of money, Like they're good. You can't fuck with Harvard. But Obama went to Harvard, and he came out and was like, praised Harvard, and then said that this was I forget the first word, like I think maybe unconstitutional and ham-handed move. And I was just like, just the idea, that Trump's tiny-handed ass has no idea what ham-handed means and probably took it as a fat insult. And he was sitting in his office reading tweets like, wait, Obama called me ham-handed? My hands are hams? And it's like, I think it just means bungling, stupid.
It does, but also
Dumb.
his fingers do look like pigs in a blanket.
Yeah, he does. Looks like he was made out of pork. Like you could just slap a bunch of freaking cold cuts together and throw a yellow mop on.
Yeah, no. I was listening to some shit the other day where they were saying that, because you know how like at the beginning of each administration, like they have to have a physical and the doctor will come out and like say crazy shit. But they were like, he's 6'3", 225, and you're like, yeah, that's clearly not.
No, that all the memes. This
You have
week
a jumic motherfucker.
were like him and Chris Hemsworth, and they were like,
this is
man
6'3",
is
225.
yeah,
I didn't see that.
yeah.
You're like, yo, Chris Hemsworth, he's not even Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Like, he's
Thor,
not,
the Thor one is what I'm
It's,
talking
yeah, Chris, the Thor. Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous. And he backed off the tariffs, which was immediate.
People didn't. This is another thing. There's like real news if you're watching financial shit, and then
I try not to.
So, as the tariffs began, Canada started buying a lot of bonds. They were buying bonds up. Now, if you'll see when
bonds. I thought you said bombs.
bonds with a D at the
They're
end,
like
American
you
U.S.
annex
bonds.
Us, we're going.
They already hold a whole bunch of them, as does China.
Yeah.
If China ever dumped theirs, it would destroy. Like that's the thing is China has so many arrows in their quiver, and we don't against them Like right now we have one, and it's like, we're not going to buy your stuff. And they were like, right now their response has been like, well, then go fuck yourself. We'll sell it to somebody else, and they'll sell it to you at a markup.
They're like care. Hans Gruber in Die Hard. They're like, this is a negotiable barrel
bonds. The thing is, I haven't even started with them, but with Canada, they started buying these bonds. And so when Trump was the first thing you saw where he was out front of the White House with a bunch of dumb douchebags, and he was talking about how the tariffs were going.
Oh, where he had the big chart that like no one could read.
No. After that, this is when he said the tariffs are done now. We're gonna do a pause. The reporters immediately were like, "You've been watching the bond market?" And he was like, yeah, I've been one. Yeah, of course. Some people have been getting, I forget the word he used, like whimpery. He's like, they've been getting squeaky, or so he said some shit like,
like wimpy or whatever.
But Canada started selling bonds. The second the tariffs went into effect, Canada was like, sell them. And they're like, not all at once, this many an hour.
So, wait, selling our bonds?
Yes. And so,
okay. Or not ours, but America's bonds.
So once they get into the market, that brings the price down because there's a buy, sell kind of thing happening. Buy, demand, whatever. Because there's a market, like a stock, like the stocks. And so as there's always one available. If you need a bond, Canada's got you one. You don't have to give America your money. You can give your money to Canada, and Canada will give you its bond. And it'll just get out of the America business. So as they were doing that, the price of bonds is slowly going down because there's no demand. There's always one available. So what that does is it triggers, whenever the 1 year, the small bond goes down, it triggers the 10-year to go up, the interest rate on it. So that interest rate for 4 days was just tick, 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 tick. And then Carney, the guy in charge of Canada, went to Europe, and he was like, hey, France, got any bonds? You go ahead and start selling them. England, you too. Germany? And they did. And so our one was going down and one was going up. Basically, and it's like a death cross. It's like the
you
indicator.
Do understand, I have no idea what you mean right now.
It's an indicator that, like, if it wasn't artificial, we knew what you'd lose your mind and sell everything you had and get into cash right now because everything's going to crumble.
Okay.
Hardcore depression. So that's why he was like, okay, the tariffs are done. He paused them because Canada basically put a gun to his head and was like, you might want to stop those tariffs right now.
You might want to knock it off, pal.
And people brought up the bond market, but there was only like 3 or 4, like MSNBC and CBC,
CNBC?
the Canadian version of of BBC covered it. And basically that happened. And at the same time, now China right now is like, we don't give a fuck. We're not even going to look at you, Except they put all those AI videos out that show like fat Americans working in factories crying.
Yeah, no,
and Trump working in a factory.
Yeah.
Okay, then this is coordinated because China's not allowed to Chinese people aren't allowed to just go start dumping shit on American social media. They need permission to be allowed to do that.
Okay.
The next day, all these TikToks about Chinese people in their speaking English, like, hey, how you doing? You know what we do here? We make shoes. The Nikes you buy right here. You know what it cost us? $5. You want to buy it? $5. You pay $150. You think the prices are our fault? It leaves us for $5. So all these tariffs, even before those tariffs, your government is putting $100 on your sneakers and keeping it. They're $5. Just buy them from us direct here. And then that's all the last 3 days has been like, you want a Louis Vuitton bag? They're $30. We got one right here, $30. Order it. Here's the number.
And because you can order right off the internet directly from Chinese factories?
Not normally. And yeah, you kind of can with Alibaba. You kind of can. That's what Temu, all those cheap things
it's like
are
Silk
kind of
Road
doing.
For
but
legal
they
shit.
take the brands off of it when they sell it on Temu or whatever. But right now they're saying like, hey, we got the Louis Vuitton bag, but we can't ship them to you because of tariffs. We're not allowed to send these. So, hey.
You can't even mail it direct.
But if you buy it from us direct and pay the tariffs, ain't even going to hurt you. It's 100% on $5 instead of the $10,000 for this bag that you might have to pay Prada.
Jesus.
And so basically what they're doing is just like propagating propaganda. They're like, hey, Americans, that shit you buy, you are being robbed by your own people.
Yes.
It doesn't even have, you think it's cheap now? You think that $100 TV was cheap? We would have sold it to you for 10. Your cell phone for 1,000? Yeah, we got those for $100.
Yeah, and he's saying that it's only going to be for 90 days, but I don't think he wants to start this funky bullshit again.
No. Right now, his approval rating is negative.
Yeah, but do you really feel like that matters?
No. JD Vance keeps coming out. Well, we overwhelmingly won the election. Be like, you narrowly won an election just like everybody always fucking does.
Yeah, and
you're not a you're not a king because you won a fucking election.
Right, but they have most of the courts, and they're not really. They're unconcerned with fucking democracy as a whole. Like, it's just like have you seen it like in North Carolina right now for the state Supreme Court? The Democratic female judge who won, and granted, super narrow margin.
Yeah.
But there was 2 different recounts, and the margin came out the same, and she won. It's something like, I think, 724 votes. And they still were like, no, we're going to challenge this in court.
Yep.
And the court
only Democratic leaning regions. They didn't go for like the red areas of North Carolina. They only tested
mail-in votes cities. And all that shit. Yeah, just challenging.
It's mostly mail-in votes, and it's mostly troops. Straight up, like the majority of mail-in votes are troops and really old senior citizens.
Yeah,
they don't give a fuck. They don't give.
No, and that's my whole point. Is just that it's not really about who would really win in any of these cases. It's just they're like we.
Well, it is. I mean, if Trump didn't win the last election, we wouldn't be having this discussion. You know, like if Democrats would have won by a couple fucking hundred, maybe 10, 20,000 votes in the right places, it would have been an entirely different story. And that's the straight up. Like it's not. It wasn't a mandate or anything.
No, I agree with you that it wasn't like a mandate, but it's just that they've kind of nailed down ways to circumvent democracy. They're not interested in who actually wins. They're just actually interested in keeping power.
That's it. And it's not for the good of anything.
Yeah, I don't think I'm saying any major revelation to that.
Here, now this is something that I posted this on Facebook today, and I was just telling you about this idea. Okay, I just started watching WWE again, wrestling, and like the audience of wrestling is just ginormous. You know, like wrestling is hugely popular. It's one of the most popular shows on TV.
Yeah, I think it's more popular than NASCAR, which is more popular than NFL.
Yeah, it's huge. And it's theater. It's not even a sport. It's a theater of a sport. And so recently, I started watching it again because it came on
theater?
Theater.
You say theater?
Theater. I don't know.
Okay, I'm not judging you. I was just curious.
Sir, am a member of the National Thespian Society.
I am a thespian.
I had to pause, so I said it correctly. So, in the new universe right now, there's 2 or 3 of these groups that are patriotic, and they're the bad guys. Like the straight up like American wrestlers are like
MAGA
they're
wrestlers.
Heels. They're heels. There's like one group that just it's all decked out in red, white, and blue. They're called American Made, and so one of them recently
that's lazy writing.
It is, and they were going against the LWO, which is the Latin World Order, the Latino World Order.
Whoa!
Which is Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee. It's luchadors, and then a couple other guys that are just Mexican dudes, and so it was kind of like a, immigrant versus patriot kind of thing. But the immigrants are the good guys. Remember that. Wow. The wrestling audience has become very diverse, like America. So the wrestling
baby faces.
So what's the other word? The face. Yeah, the face. But they were the good guys. The heels are the American guys. One of the American guys goes to Mexico to learn the art of luchadora as that's part of the story. Mm-hmm. Chad Gable, he's like their leader, and
he's the MAGA leader.
So he comes back, and he's got a luchador mask, but he's straight up draped out in the flag, and he's El Grande Americana. Okay, and he's from the Gulf of America.
In what way isn't he? Well, in what way is he American made? He went to Mexico to learn that.
Yeah. Well, no. He went to the Gulf of America to learn it, and
that's just called Florida, Alabama.
I know, but
Floribama.
But think of that. The bad guy is the only one in the WWE referencing the Gulf of America. Like that makes sense. It's crazy that the most what I consider conservative meat-eating, red-blooded Americans.
I would think would be audience, the WWE.
Yeah. But the fact that
Hulk Hogan used to come out to Real American when he was like the most popular
guy. And that's even more into this. At the first broadcast, the first Netflix Raw, he came out waving a flag like, "Hey, Hulk Hogan!" And this is just after the election, and they booed the shit out of him. They booed him so hard he had to leave.
Wow.
But so this guy, Goff.
I like to hear that. It was
just funny that the patriot nationalist guy.
Yeah,
he's from the Gulf of America. So they're making this Trump joke on the bad guy. So many WWE fans called in, wrote letters, emailed, tweeted, bitched, and complained that they were saying Gulf of America, that now they're saying he's from the Gulf of Mexico. They stopped. They did what the AP did. WWE is like, oh shit, we can't call it that. Our fans, the majority of a fucking America.
AP as in Associated Press.
Yeah, like that's why they got banned from the White House, is they refused to change their style guide to refer to that body of water as that.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
But the WWE audience also refused. They didn't even want to hear it in an insult. They were that against calling it like that's a weird. I didn't expect that. That just happened.
No,
like,
that's a turn of events.
like this weekend. Like on Raw on Monday, they called
Mm-hmm.
him. They said he was from Gulf of America. On WrestleMania this weekend, he will be from the Gulf of Mexico. They changed his intro because so many people complained.
But you know, it would be way more clever on their part. Is remember in the '80s, whenever they wanted a fool to seem like really scary and mysterious, they would be like, "From parts unknown." Like, yo, if you just started calling the guy who they tried to make from Gulf of America into Gulf of Mexico, like, from Gulfs unknown. It's like, we don't know what the fuck is up with this guy. We just know we're trying to make you root against him. He's the heel. I mean, because that is a really big, like, switcheroo. Because you remember when we were kids, one of my favorite wrestlers was the Iron Sheik.
Yeah.
And he was teamed, he's from Iran. And then his partner was Nikolai Volkov, the Russian.
Just always bring in a Russian.
And they would always be like, yo, fucking my favorite shit about the Iron Sheik. Even when I'm like 8 or 9 years old, I don't know why I liked it. But he would be like, Iran, #1, America, Hawk-tua. And like, you know, the Hawk-tua girl gets a lot of credit, but I feel like she just bit that shit off the Iron
There's a
Sheik.
documentary out there about his later years where like it was
Oh, I've
over.
seen it. I love it.
It was
I love
over.
it.
He fell off, and then one of his friends' kids was like, "Wait, you know the Iron Sheik?" Like,
yeah, that's
dude,
my-
that's our. And he's like, "I got to meet this man," and then all of a sudden he's like, just with Twitter alone brings that motherfucker's career back. You know.
Yeah. Well, he was hilarious. They also
yeah.
say in that documentary, they interview The Rock about a lot of his witticisms because he grew up in the locker room around those guys. And he was like, no, like, he mentions like a couple of different jokes where he's just, or like taglines, whatever. He's like, no, I got that from the Iron Sheik. That was his shit, you know?
No, xenophobia. You know, like that's
It was
that's
their whole
wrestling
thing.
wrestling history. There's always going to be a patriotic American fighting a.
Yeah, remember Sergeant Slaughter? They brought him in, like, when they were like, is Hulk Hogan American enough? Let's bring in Sergeant Slaughter.
And then Sergeant Slaughter eventually came back working with the Sheik, and he was like he was for Iraq during the Gulf. The Gulf.
That makes perfect sense because that's the real narrative. That's like they just basically Iran Contra'd the WWE, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's just it's funny to me that's a thing. And then at the same time, the guy with the belt is, you know, Cody Rhodes.
Okay.
So what's the old guy?
He's the heavyweight champ.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, he's Dusty Rhodes' kid.
Brother. What's the old?
How could he be his brother?
No, there's one.
Dusty Rhodes is old as fuck.
No,
if he's
there-
even
there-
still alive.
Wait. Yeah, Dusty's son. I was Dustin.
His son,
There's
yeah.
two. There's two. 'Cause
Okay.
There's Dustin Rhodes, and he was like Gold Dust. Remember Gold Dust? And he would
yeah.
be like,
Wait, so that was
and that was the homophobic time. Basically, Vince hated Dusty Rhodes.
right.
He
So
always fought.
made
He was one of the
his
guys that
son
actually
act
held
gay.
on to territory. So yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, he was like, "I'll give you work, but I'm going to make you look gay."
No, like fucking Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair had to be the bane of Vince McMahon's existence because, yo, they remained as popular
Relevant.
on some OG shit. They were like as popular as Hulk Hogan without that kind of promo.
But so the new son basically once Vince was gone, and that's the whole thing. Vince is a bad guy to the WWE entirely. He's never going to come back as like, oh, the founder that brought this together. They're going to be like,
He
here's
was shitting
here's
on
the guy
women, literally.
that fucking destroyed. Oh, and his wife. Okay, but not. I'll get into that later.
Yeah, that's a Trump thing.
But Dusty came back to like end the story correctly, and so that's like the story in
The
it right now
original
is that
Dusty Rhodes.
his family was wrestling fucking royalty.
Yeah.
Vince did his best to shit on any wrestling family like Bret Hart, anybody that was
the
from a
Harts, who had
family.
power,
He was
yeah.
going to make them look like shit on TV to
Yeah.
make himself feel better about himself instead
Yeah.
of celebrating the art of theater.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm not going to
The
call
theater?
it. But so he came back and won. Blah blah blah. He had started.
Dusty did.
Yeah.
The original Dusty.
And he's draped in the flag. He is the American.
He was the American Dream.
He's the American Nightmare. Cody. Sorry, Dusty was the American Dream.
Yeah.
His son Cody is the American Nightmare. But he's awesome. He's about to whoop John Cena at WrestleMania. Sorry, everybody. I know nobody here gets.
Spoiler alert?
It's just the politics of it. I hadn't thought about that before. When I saw that news today, that was like, hey, we're not going to say golf. We're sorry we were saying Golf of America, people. Like, wait, I thought your audience would be wearing the red hat, man,
Yeah,
but they're really
it seems
not.
like a red hat crowd.
America is not as conservative as we think it is. I think so much of it is centrist and would really wish that the two sides didn't exist at all.
I mean,
They're like,
honestly,
I want to go to work and watch TV. Just stop talking about gay people.
it would add some legitimacy to the way they. I mean, not entirely, but you know how the way with the NFL and the NBA, people are like, keep the politics out of it. And you're like, yeah, you're just saying that because these are black sports, really. Black dominated anyway. And they just like, it's like that Fox News host that said about LeBron, like, shut up and dribble. Yeah. And it's like, shut the fuck up, man. Sports have always been politicized. And if they weren't, you wouldn't have fighter jets flying over fucking NFL games. No, you know what I mean?
Honestly, I think private citizens should be the one expressing opinions on things that happen, and that people on the news need to shut the fuck up and read the fucking news.
Right.
Here's what happened, not here's how you feel about it, you fucking piece of shit.
And they were not supposed to be editorialized.
Because that's for real. Like, just right now, they're trying to cut the money for NPR and PBS.
And PBS, yeah.
Saying that it's not woke liberal bias. It's down the fucking middle. They basically say, here's some things that happened, not you should go be gay. They say, here's some things that happened. And it's unbiased news is now, and Jon Stewart made that joke, or Stephen Colbert, whatever, fucking 2 decades ago, almost, like that the reality has a liberal bias.
Yeah,
straight up.
Right.
Like,
it's like if,
just reporting what happened is now biased.
Right. If speaking the truth is woke, well, then that just means what you're saying is lies, and you're promoting lies.
And you can't call somebody biased, like Trump calling somebody biased.
Think
about that. Like, these degenerate, woke Democrats are biased. It's like, you just insulted them, dick. That's
biased.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, Linda McMahon, Vince McMahon's wife, who is now the Secretary of Education, was at a conference recently, and here's what she said. It was like, this is almost a quote, like, the future of education is going to be inherently wrapped around A1. A1, no matter what we do, the companies are going to keep developing the A1 technology.
What's A? Oh, she meant AI?
That's how...
She was calling it A1?
That's how stupid the Secretary of Education is. That even if she thought it was A1... Right. Even if she thought that I was a 1.
Right.
Number one, she didn't ask anybody, hey, what's
read.
A1?
Yeah.
She was out there talking about A1 like it's the coming new technology of the future.
Yeah.
Maybe she thought AI is called A1. She didn't know what AI is.
But hold on, but you've never heard anyone pronounce that out loud? There's definitely, like, I got
A1.
I have a friend who is a very well-read person who recently pronounced the word caricature in front of me, and I was like, do you mean caricature? And she was like, is that how you pronounce that? I've never heard it said out loud. But like, if
that's pure hyperbole.
It's the epitome of hyperbole. And fucking
I think it should be an album, but there's no way to spell it wrong.
Fucking no, that's a Brian Regan bit. But fucking if you are first of all, I don't know how
A1.
you would A1. Like, how have you never heard AI pronounced out loud? At this, like right now, you cannot get away from it on the internet,
I'm saying
TV, like
even if she
anything.
Even if she didn't know what it was,
right?
She should have asked somebody before she came out and sat on a stage
and
discussed the thing about this thing she fully understands that she was called that. Okay, about 2 hours later, once the news broke, A1 Steak Sauce was like, "Hey, you're right, man. Start them young." Because she was talking about how it's going to happen in elementary school, so we should get kids learning A1 early. Yeah, and they were like, "We're with you. We should definitely start them young." A1 sauce,
burgers, steaks, whatever. Just we got you.
A1's expensive. You ever gone? It's like $6-7 for a fucking. I'm like, that's just.
It's
I can't spend that much on a condiment.
But I mean, you can make that complaint about anything.
I'm
a
vegetarian, and I love that shit.
What do you put it on? Veggie burgers?
Yo mama.
Oh, that was uncalled for.
I know. I felt
you put AI on my mom.
No,
she's a sweet old lady, and I will not have that. You're about to get MC Hammered in here.
I use ChatGPT to write that joke. It doesn't really understand people.
It doesn't know us.
I put it on tuna. When I make a tuna steak.
Really?
That's my steak. Is a tuna steak. I'll put it on a veggie burger. Just a little bit. Remember when that was a thing when they were like, put it on your burgers, steak burger.
Yeah. No, I put it on my actual burgers, my turkey burgers, whatever.
No, I think there was some meeting back in the 80s where they were like, hey, man, it's just sitting in the fridge. They're like, what? They're not using it. They can't afford steak no more. The Reagan, man, ain't no steaks. And they're like, fuck, what are we going to do?
Dude,
like,
it's good on a burger.
Put it on burgers. Boom.
It's good on a burger.
Yep. Yeah.
I think they had a motto that was something like turn that burger into steak or something like that.
It's funny. I went to England, and on every fucking table in every fucking restaurant, they got this stuff called brown sauce.
It's basically A1.
It's A1. It's A1. Yeah. It's A1. It's basically, it's like vinegar.
It's malt vinegar. It's B2.
It's malt vinegar that they've kind of like, which is what,
thickened up.
Yeah, that's basically all it is. But they got that shit's all over England. Brown sauce, it's cheap as shit too. It's not $6. About.
Well, yeah, they probably got better economy over there. All right, so switching lanes off of these Trump fuckitudes, but into more fuckitudes, because, that's kind of what we're about.
Yeah.
Rocking with the worst. You seen this thing about the New Jersey police chief from North Bergen, which is very close. It's like the next county from where I grew up at. I grew up in Essex County, New Jersey. This is all North Jersey shit. And none of this surprises me in the least little bit. It just is hysterically funny to me. Okay, so North Bergen police chief is getting sued by, I think, 5 of his officers for what they called turning the environment of their police station.
Is this the prank guy?
Well, if you want to call it pranks, they said he turned it into Animal House, but some of his pranks included clogging the toilets on purpose, that's okay. You might call that a prank, but he apparently at least once, if not more times, took a shit on the floor in front of all of his subordinates, like open air, like
yeah, I can't. That's just like
showed his butthole and grew a tail.
The second the first off, I pull my phone out, because you post that online, that dude ain't got a job in 5 minutes, straight up. There's nothing you can do. He doesn't have a job anymore. But I would have definitely called find out whoever I could call, the fucking governor, and be like, yo, man, this dog just took a shit on the floor.
Where's the prank in you showing me your anus expulsing?
Just like
that's
like everybody's calling out for April Fool's Day again. She's like, but I've been eating chili and cuttlefish for days.
Wild. Also, another one.
It's a hate crime. It's not a hate crime. I hated it.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's from The Office. Someone took a shit in his office.
But it's real. It's
That's not a hate crime, Michael.
My dog would sometimes, when I would go in the bar on off hours and like bring her in there with me while I was either dropping something off or picking something up, she would occasionally just take a shit on the floor when I wasn't looking, and then I wouldn't realize it was like in the beer closet or something, and then I would like walk out and lock back up, and whoever had to open that day would just find just a terrible dog turd. Like, we call her the atomic dog. She's nuclear with that shit.
No,
But yeah, you smelled it. You've smelled it live on air. The farts even, but if you know that what those farts smell like, the poops, oof, that's nuclear powered. But yeah, when I would get the call on that, I'd be like, yeah, that's what we call a Sicilian threat. Watch your step, But like watching a grown man who is your fucking boss, and you're in a law enforcement, in any job. That would be crazy if you worked at McDonald's. If you worked even in a sewage treatment facility, that would be crazy. But you're in law enforcement, and the chief is dropping deuces in your fucking view.
That's another one. If it was McDonald's, I'd pull out the phone and I would be I would be calling Ronald and being like, yo,
get this
is going on Twitter
here
in 10 minutes if I don't have some money in my account.
Yes.
I am blackmailing you now.
Yes. And
God, I just can't imagine that. Like, how much do you need that job?
That's the second. Well, come on, they're cops. That's the fuck they want to do.
Yeah, but shit.
But I mean, maybe transfer to a different department or something. Also, he was dosing the coffee pots with Adderall and Viagra, which is just like, why do you want your cops running around hyphy with hard dicks? That's crazy.
Prank.
Prank. Like, and also like calling things pranks. Like, I feel like people have lost.
Yeah, that's a felony right there. That has to be. You can't just drug motherfuckers.
No, that's definitely an F. That's a solid F.
Especially police
He's essentially roofing his officers on the job.
Yeah.
Like, what does he want them to do with those boners while they're basically methed out? You know, Adderall is essentially methamphetamine. Yeah. So it's like, yo, take this meth and this boner pill and watch me take a shit, bro. Officer, lieutenant. But like, yeah, I don't know what the intention there is, but yeah, drugging people is definitely against the law. And what you hope to accomplish with that is, and also,
now, as I remember when I saw the story, there was video of him like fucking around in the office. I don't know what he was doing, and they said he was like leaning on people or something. But I'm guessing somebody there started filming if we're hearing about it in general.
Well, no, they filed a lawsuit.
Yeah.
But this is the craziest one to me. I waited. I saved the craziest one for last.
But they're all still at work while the lawsuit's pending.
Yeah, no. That's the thing.
Oh, really? They're still working for that same dude?
All of them are still working. At least I read up on it the other day.
He's still there doing the same thing?
They're all still there.
So you think that they would put him on suspension?
And the city came out, and I'm going to say this part before the craziest one. They're like, oh, this is all petty, vengeful shit because he was cutting officers out of the overtime pay. But
I was willing to put up with these turds and this hard on that I'm really focused on if I was going to get a couple hours overtime.
But no.
But not for part-time money.
But so neither the police chief nor his attorney nor the cops' attorneys would respond to the article. But the spokesman for like the city itself of North Bergen was saying like, oh, this is all fiction, this is libelous slander, and it's all going to come out that they're just angry that they got their overtime pay cut off. But then it turned out that one of the local papers in the area did an article about, it's called something like the 300K Club. And there's like 5 cops in position where they're getting over $300,000 a year in salary. Damn. And he's one of them. Mm-hmm. And it basically is about them manipulating the hours and everything. So it's like, they're like, this man was trying to cut the taxpayers' budget and how much they have to fucking pay. And they're like, well, if that's the case, why is he paying himself over $300,000?
Yeah, no, fuck that. Whenever when I hear even a super $150,000 is too much to make from the government. I'm sorry, but the economy is fucked now, and it's like if the billionaires are going to get everything and everybody at the bottom is supposed to be happy with $40,000 a year.
Yeah,
I think $100,000 a year. If you can't live on that, then you can go fuck yourself because you haven't tried.
Well, if you're making
a lot of fucking
everyone
money.
Else live off less than that because you're letting billionaires and corporations not pay anything that they owe in taxes, then and I agree with you.
It's not like okay, a police chief ain't doing shit. You're a politician. You're a fucking manager.
No, that's the point. He's doing shit on the floor.
But I mean, like, they're not out there, like, arresting.
While you have to stand there with your boner and focus on it.
They're not detecting anything. They're not doing shit. They're basically, they're the same as my manager at a factory or whatever. They're the same as, they're just a manager.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that, $300,000, you know?
Okay, but I got to get you this last one in.
And then we're going to cut out food stamps and shit.
Yeah, I got to get you this last one in, though. One of the officers in the lawsuit claims that the chief stabbed him in the dick with a syringe.
I remember the syringe. I remember seeing that.
How? Motherfucker, you are armed. You like, I'm not rooting for these officers either. I'm not. Everybody in here is a douchebag as far as I'm concerned. But
they take their belts off sometimes at the station.
you have a fucking sidearm, bruh, and a dude ran up on you with a syringe and got you poked in the dick.
Maybe that's why the Viagra was in the coffee, so that he
to keep it hard.
No, so he was like, I keep trying to poke him in the dick and I can't see his dick. But now that first he ordered pants that were too tight.
Yeah.
Next thing you know. Yeah.
How does that even happen? And once it does, fuck a lawsuit. Somebody's got to die behind that.
Now I could also see imagine
you shoot the chief at that
Just imagine
point.
the idea y'all sitting somewhere and prank asshole just boink, just pulls out a syringe out of nowhere and just pokes, because we don't have to. He didn't have to actually like get it into his dick. If somebody just poked into your crotch area with a syringe and it touched your pants, that counts. I would say that dude poked me in the dick with a syringe because he was aiming. It was an attempted dick poking, whether he actually hit the shaft or not.
If you breach the skin with a fucking needle,
that's
that. Yeah. That's a wrap.
No,
you don't know what the fuck happens after that. AIDS, Hep B, Hep C, all kinds of bloodborne shit could happen after that. But like, this is what I was saying earlier about him calling them pranks, is that like, I don't know if it's the world or just America, but they like, there's been a loss of a lot of terminology. It is just kind of the worm has turned in a lot of ways, but in particular, pranks. What people are like, oh, it's a prank, bro. Have you ever watched those videos on like Reels or Instagram or whatever? Where it's like, oh, prank gone wrong, where like somebody will try and like come up and like fart in a dude's face on the street and just get the shit kicked out of him. Like, it's a prank, bro. It's a prank. Like, no. Just because you say it's a prank doesn't change the context of what you did to someone.
There's been this wave on the like the video streams, like, which all started as gaming streams and then all moved out, but IRL, in real life streamers.
Right.
And they basically just walk around with their phone and fuck with people while filming. And then a bunch of these guys recently like thought it'd be cool to go to Asia. Okay. And this is like this is like one of the new topics right now on YouTube is like fuck around and find out videos that are like, there's this guy named Johnny Somali. That's Johnny Somali, I think. And that's just what he calls himself. And he's black kid, and he went to Japan, and he basically would go up on, and he'd be in the like in a subway filming, and he'd be a guy sitting there minding his own business, and he'd be like, "Hey,
tubes.
Hey, you know about Hiroshima, Nagasaki? Yeah, we're gonna do it again." And then the guy would like, whoa, and jump up, and so he goes to Korea. People there are really polite, so it was really hard for him to bother people. Okay, and there's a lot of laws there. So this dude is in Korean jail right now, but he starts off like he's at a 7-Eleven eating ramen noodles and just throwing handfuls of noodles at people and walls and shit. He gets drunk and just like starts bothering a bunch of construction workers and trying to sneak into a construction site. Gets arrested, and then they basically have like a 98% conviction rate there.
Yeah.
He pleaded guilty by mistake to 2 things, and all these other YouTube streamers have like gone to Korea and filmed his court cases, being like, this is so great to watch. I love watching these fucking assholes get burned. And this guy is going to go to jail for like, and he wears a Trump.
But there are other streamers,
Johnny
so they
Somali
do fuck shit
wears a Trump hat. No, not these guys. There's a lot of people that are just like,
he's like
doing news.
He's a black Trumper?
No, people don't like the Trump hat. He likes to bother people, so he wears a Trump hat all the time.
Oh, he's just a troll on any level.
And then he thought that if he wore it to all his court cases, that somehow Trump would save him and get him out of Korea, which did not happen. He doesn't care. So then halfway through his court cases,
you're not famous, bro.
He's kicked off of every stream service, and he gets back on a new one, and he starts fucking going out and doing the same thing, bothering people, taking his clothes off and whipping his dick around and like yelling at random strangers. He thinks he can prove he's bipolar to get off his case. And so he gets like 5 more charges from that.
Yeah,
this dude, but there's like 7 or 8 of them. One of them's Russian, and he's in Japan in jail. He's like a Russian-American guy that's in Japan in jail for this. And yeah, prank YouTube is your prank better involve whipped cream and something very small with somebody who totally gave consent in the past.
Well, and it just also...
because consent and pranks don't go together.
Right, and it's also the context of it is like, you prank a friend on some like, I don't know, April Fool's shit, or just like, make them think something like, I don't know, pretty minor.
Most even April Fool's shit.
A prank is some minor shit.
No.
It's not like pulling your dick out in public or, farting in a stranger's face and expecting that you're not going to get violence in return. Like, I love seeing when that shit goes wrong. Like
Yeah.
occasionally, they even see some ones where dudes get shot behind that shit. I love seeing
somebody.
that.
Somebody.
It's a prank, bro. It's a prank.
Yeah.
And because they turn into the biggest fucking cowards when their joke doesn't work out for them.
Yeah.
And that's why it's just so splendid to fucking see. It's lovely.
Yeah, no, that's one thing I say. I hope that those cops have video of dude taking a shit, because that's the one thing that's been a new wave is if you have video of somebody fucking around, you don't put the video out first and you don't even mention it. You come out and you accuse them publicly, because you got to get that video of them like calling you a piece of shit liar and saying how you're the one that's wrong, and they would never do that. Like Puffy and that chick, and Puffy was like, I would never hit my wife.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, here's the video of you whooping her ass all down.
I hit rock bottom, y'all.
Yeah.
I hit rock bottom. I can't apologize. No, you can't, motherfucker.
I know I lied last time, but this time I'm telling the truth.
No.
Puffy went to court today for some charge, or yesterday. I know he got
For
a new one.
the big case?
I don't know. No, I think it's a new one. Of the
He
civil.
has so many.
Yeah.
But most of them are civil. But, we've been through that. Yeah. There hasn't been much Diddy updates lately, or I would have done them in the last few weeks.
There was a new accuser about a week ago, and then there was a case that he
But it's another
pled.
civil one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, man. And then, Fitty is, still working on that documentary. But it's almost like I'm wondering if he's going to try and wait to see how the case unfolds, because it is kind of like bugged out to make documentaries about kind of investigations in progress,
No, only if like the Jinx, like that was different, but stuff like that.
It was because they kind of solved it,
Yeah.
and as much as I loved the Jinx, and anyone who hasn't watched it and plans to, spoiler alert, so this is coming up, but they kind of solved it, and we won't go into it, but it's like
that was in the news,
right? But no, but they didn't remember. Once they basically got that confession, they didn't report it.
No.
They just waited until the documentary was done and put it out. Like, that fool was walking around the earth spending money, having fun for months, if not a couple of years, while they waited to finish that documentary. Yeah. So he probably thought he got away with another one. Yeah. And, that is a weird one.
I could see him like at the putting it out right before the trial's over. Mm-hmm. And the main thing is people are putting them out right now already. Don't yet. There's a discovery process to happen. Like, there's evidence that's going to come out. So like putting it out now, like somebody I don't know if it's BT or Netflix. Somebody just did one that I ain't watched.
I think it was Max, actually. Yeah. I watched that one. It's a 5-parter, and it's definitely worth watching. But it's also like the case is still pending, and I guess maybe their idea is now media moves so fast that you just kind of want to keep being the first one to put shit out. And then maybe as the case goes along,
What's like 2 Firefest documentaries came out at the same time, and they didn't even wait for Firefest 2 to fail to fucking add into the documentary.
I know, and there's still going to be a Firefest 2, which is weird as fuck. People went to jail for the first one.
Yeah.
Not enough people. Ja Rule didn't go to jail, and I rarely wish jail on anyone, but like, Jesus, he deserved that.
In looking into it, he wasn't. I wouldn't say he was even guilty. He was like, he didn't.
He was like a face of it. You're saying
he wasn't planning nothing. He was just like, yeah.
But what about murder?
Now apparently, Kylie Jenner was found guilty of some shit with it, and all she did, she had to give money back, because one day, the first thing of Fire Festival, they had paid tons of celebrities to all
pretend that they were wilding out there.
No, Instagram out. This is before ticket sales. This is like to get ticket sales to happen. Mm-hmm. Put an orange square on Instagram. So Bella Hadid, just a bunch of famous chicks, but Kylie Jenner was one of them.
Is Bella Hadid the MTV star that turned into a porn star?
No, there's 2 of them that are sisters that are like named Hadid, and they're like model / singing. I don't know. They're really hot, and
they're
sing.
Influencers.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she put out Kylie Jenner was paid like $175,000 to tweet an orange square, which is insane. but it worked, and the people bought tickets like idiots. You know, and that's the thing. I have no sympathy for the rich, the children of the billionaires.
That's the only reason that documentary was really entertaining in any way. The only people that you could even sympathize with were the people working the festival, who are like native to that island and were basically like West Indians working on the catering and the shit like that. And I mean, you feel horrible for them. But like the people who were ticket buyers that were supposedly victimized, you're like, I have no sympathy for you.
Oh, did you buy something and not get what you paid for? That's pretty much how all your families got rich.
Yeah, for tens of thousands of dollars. Did you buy a concert ticket for tens of thousands of dollars to get a cheese sandwich in a tent? Like, fuck you.
Yeah,
I have no sympathy.
Yeah, but I just thought it was hilarious. I don't know. I recently watched this like rap scams video. I didn't know that Tory Lanez apparently did like an NFT album thing where he was like basically put an album out and he was like, you can buy the album as an NFT. There's 1 million. So you might want, and they're $1 each, which honestly, selling an album for $1, good on you. That's cool. That would have been fine. But he was like, these are NFTs. There's only 1 million in my album. I'm probably going to sell 5 or 10 million. So what does that mean? You can buy it. You take a copy.
I don't think Tory Lanez was ever in any danger of going 5 times platinum or diamond.
But he sold 1 million, so he did make $1 million in like a half hour selling his album as NFTs.
Get the fuck out of here.
Because he was telling people that the price was going to go up. You can resell this. So you buy it. It's an NFT. So you buy it for $1. It's going to be worth like $5 by tomorrow when they're sold out.
Right.
So and then the next day he's on like, these are worth $20,000. The resale value is $50,000. And then people would like on his tweets be like, no dog, it's 2. I just sold it for 2, but your website charges me $1.50 to make that sale.
So I
do the math, asshole. You know?
You're the wrong 50 cent.
But that's, you bought it for $1. You sold it for $2, but it cost you $1.50 to sell it. You lost 50 cents on that deal. So that's what he did. And he was out for days like, it's $50,000. And then within a month, he shot that chick in the foot.
Yeah, that was Megan Thee Stallion.
And that was like,
you should not know the name Tory Lanez and not the name Megan Thee Stallion.
I know her name. I think his name is hilarious because it's not his name. It's just,
right.
That's the silliest thing to me of like, my name is Chet Johnson. That's my rap name now.
No, remember he has a way better real life name than Tory Lanez. And we were like, why would you, why would you do that?
My new rap name is King Vonnegut.
That's okay. That's pretty weird. Fucking, I recently found out. You remember Genuine from My Pony?
Oh yeah, bow.
It's one of my favorite.
Timberland beats.
I mean, it's just one of my favorite beats ever. But he's got one of the most ridiculous real names. Okay, his real name is Elgin Baylor Lumpkin.
Who
Genuine's real name is Elgin. Baylor is his middle name.
Genuine is from Elgin. He's genuine.
Genuine.
Because he's not genuine, he's genuine.
But he's
Elgin.
Elgin Lumpkin.
Yeah. You know what's funny
is really close to the filthiest sex move ever.
I grew up with a good friend in Virginia whose last name was Lumpkin.
How did he feel about that?
And Genuine is from Virginia as well.
Oh, so they're probably related.
It could be.
Word.
Yo, Lumpy.
Before we get out of here, I would like to discuss one last thing, which is just fool lit the governor of Virginia's house on fire.
Pennsylvania.
What did I say? Virginia? Yeah. Pennsylvania.
That guy.
And
he said he did it for the people of Palestine.
I know. That's what I was like, dude. Are we really believing that? Because you know what his other move was he was waiting for Shapiro to run out of the house so he could bash him with a hammer.
Yeah.
And obviously, you don't have a full tank there if that's what you think is going to work out. Because, like, what do you think? The governor doesn't have a staff of security and bodyguards? I'm just really curious how the fuck he got close enough to light the house on fire.
Over a fence in the back. Got up to a window and broke it.
The security on that?
Yeah. No, I guess I actually saw that was the news for the last 2 mornings. Has been like,
and he gets over
security at governors' mansions is going to change today. As of today, there's 50 states right now calling private security companies and being like, "Hey,
I don't know. I think there's probably like whatever red states are automatically getting their shit bumped up by Trump and Elon. And in all the blue states, they're like, we're making it illegal for governors of blue states to have security. You can't even hire your own shit. Fuck you."
There's a So you hear about the kid that tried to kill Trump this week? He didn't get very far.
What do you
Some
mean?
kid in, I want to say, he's either Nebraska or Kansas, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, killed his parents for their money to fund his trek to D.C. to kill Trump. And he got as far as like Kansas. He got like 1 state over and got caught and found. But the bodies were like in the house for like a week,
It doesn't sound
couple
like
weeks.
a great long-term plan.
Well-
he killed him a few weeks ago?
Or like a week or so ago. Like yeah.
What? How did he get the money, though?
I don't know. Maybe
Did he get the money?
Yeah, he had 10 grand or so that he had somehow gotten.
Oh, his
for
parents were up to shiesty shit.
And he had like guns. He had guns and shit. But he when
well, I
found,
hope you would if you plan to
but
assassinate
he brought up this thing
anyone.
that's been this new trend in the far deep right. That is the collapse. Mm-hmm. You heard that?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
accelerationis's.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's what he was pushing. That's what his thing. He's like, oh, I don't give a fuck about Trump. Trump doesn't matter to me. I'm not there. I'm not killing him for.
He's an accelerationist.
He was just like, I need him to go so that we can hurry up and
right. This will and that's
get the country burning down. And right now, what Republicans are fucking doing to our government, it really seems like it's a coordinated effort, and that some of these young bucks might have just like read the memo wrong and struck out a little too early, like the guy in Shapiro. Because like the idea, that guy, looking at him, to me, he doesn't look like the guy that bombed Shapiro's house, the kind of guy that gives a fuck about Palestine. To me.
No, he looks like a right-wing kook.
I thought about it
Or
more
just
of like
really a homeless
false
idiot.
flag to kind of push that anybody for Palestine is an actual terrorist. If you said Palestine you're for it, then you are a terrorist with a hammer.
No, that's exactly what first came to my mind. Was like, they're like, yeah, now that you did it, you're gonna read this statement that says you did this shit for Palestine.
Yeah.
I don't know that I buy it, but also like, I don't believe in 90% of conspiracy theories, but I also just don't believe that Trump assassination shit was real.
No.
Like that was a fucking photo op if I've ever seen one. That's fucking bullshit. But like what you're saying about this kid being accelerationist and Trump not really mattering to him, I mean that's largely true. Even with like the 3%ers and the Proud Boys and fucking Oath Keepers and all them, it's like they only really were about Trump because he was accelerating shit. And the reason they call it accelerationist, and you probably know this, I'm just saying this for the listener, but that if you don't know, it just means like accelerating the pace at which we reach like either our next civil war or whatever conflict would cause the country to implode and fight
a far
against
right
each
nationalist
other.
group could take over and make it Nazi America.
And usually they're racist Christian nationalists, like somewhere between the Klan, the Proud Boys, and
Oath Keepers.
like Oath Keepers, and also like neo-Nazi, anything like that. It's usually racist and Christian based. But I mean, but even what were the ones who wore the Hawaiian shirts?
The Boogaloos?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Boogaloos were like the dumbest out of the accelerationist groups. Like definitely the ones who would be out early in the fucking Civil War. Yeah, they're like, oh, I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt. And I've got a SKS.
There's a large section of them that are just trolls. They're just trolling reality for fun.
Yeah, and it's cosplay
because they're bored.
It's cosplay with real guns. Yeah. But and this. But the only reason I bring it back to that is because when you say like this kid didn't really give a fuck about Trump, most accelerationists really don't.
No.
They just enjoy the fact that like, okay, he's actually helping our cause by causing such chaos that it is accelerating that procedure. And for him to get assassinated by either side is like that will only rile up his actual true believers, which would just be more chaos to accelerate the process.
And they honestly want nothing more than J.D. Vance to be president at the end of this 4-year run.
You think?
So that he's an incumbent coming for his seat, not couch boy running for his seat.
Interesting.
And they would rather have, I think they'd rather have J.D. Vance right now. I think if most of the right, if was given a choice, they would pick Vance over Trump.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think he's got the charisma.
Okay, the money that put Trump in right now
Mm-hmm.
would pay for the assassination themselves. Peter Thiel and Musk together would do it in a heartbeat. They own and made. You know, I didn't know Peter Thiel was also from South Africa.
He is, yes.
And did you know? I didn't know this.
PayPal Mafia.
Elon's not South African, or he's not Afrikaans. He's Canadian. His grandfather moved there.
Yeah.
For the apartheid.
Yeah,
He was like,
for this
fuck
specific purpose.
these liberal Canadians.
Yeah.
They are not racist enough for me. Let's go. We just found our paradise. They moved there for
for the
apartheid.
purpose.
And,
For the purpose of being in a white minority regime.
and him and Peter Thiel's family, if apartheid could have just stayed in power, would have been. That's the thing. Is like, but you guys did so good. Can't you just celebrate your fucking success and be happy that you're the richest people in the fucking world instead of killing everybody else?
In
for
what
it?
way are you going to outdo being the world's richest man who bought the presidency of the United States and now runs around wreaking havoc and chaos within the entire American administration? I don't think you can get more successful than that as a supervillain.
Yeah,
That's pretty cut and dried.
yeah.
But what you say about J.D. Vance, he literally just had Ohio State at the White House at a ceremony, and he dropped their national championship trophy and looked like a fucking douchebag.
No, that was
doing it.
up there with like Dan Quayle style shit.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason Dan Quayle didn't get to be president. You know, like dumb shit like that.
Misspelling potato.
Yeah.
Shit like that. But yeah, J.D. Vance dropping that trophy is what we're going to get a kick out of and close on.
And do you hear what he tweeted? His joke that night was like, hey, since Ohio State won, it was my job to destroy the trophy so nobody else could have it again.
Have it after him, yeah.
Like, is that what you're doing to our country?
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say. What a great fucking metaphor for what you're doing to the country. We got in office, so we're going to destroy everything, make sure no one follows after us. On that note, you have been rocking with the worst. That means that the man I cannot do without is here with me. Adam Strange, Tooth Willis, Forrest Gums, the Vice Count, Dirty Finger,
King Vonnegut. And I am your host, the foul-mouthed jerk, Foul Kilmer, Fallio Iglesias, MC Onion, the Rapscallion, Punani DeFranco, the Archduke Depeche Mode von Luftballons, known to the ladies as a pimp named Sugar Cookie. And this is the worst case scenario, because 2 wrongs don't make it right, but 3 wrongs definitely make it worst.
The past cannot be described with words. Language often falls short in expressing the depth of our experiences.